Hey everybody, my name is BlakJak and welcome to my review of Destroy All Humans. Before we begin the review, I want to mention the aspects that I believe are important to making a good video game. Those being story, visual design, audio design, content, and gameplay. Let's start off with the story. If you want to skip spoilers and go directly to the characters section, skip to this timestamp. Now, the story is rather simple. A Furon UFO crash landed onto our little blue planet and was quickly scooped up by the US government. Soon, we meet Pox, the leader of the Furon mothership, who then begins talking to the same alien that we saw moments ago. Their name is Cryptosporidium, and they're all clones. Orthopox sent a scout ship to Earth to receive hidden Furon DNA that is deep within the human genetic code. Once the ship crashed, Pox sent Crypto-137 to go search for it. Crypto lands on Turnip Seed Farm and search for the dominating life forms. Once he annihilates some farmers and the best infantry troop in the army, Crypto heads over to Rockwell to search for some more information. Eventually he makes it to Santa Modessa and learns of the secret government agency Majestic. The Majestic goons lead the way to Area 42, in which Crypto learns what happens to 136.
Thought you'd be alive. Ah, Crypto. Look what they've done to us. Laid us open like an animal. How could intelligent creatures do this? Okay, monkeys. You want a war? You've got a war.
He destroys Area 42 and then heads over to Capital City. Unfortunately, Crypto, in a moment of road rage, got shot down by a Tesla coil turret, and then he crashed into Uniontown. Crypto gets captured, but he's smart enough to escape his human captors. He gets all his gear back and even frees his ship. Once powering it all up, he destroys the island fort that held his precious ship and continues on his quest to Capital City. The leader of the US branch of Majestic, Silhouette, tries to combine the Army, Navy, Marine, and the Air Force with Majestic. However, General Armquist is not about that life. Eventually, Crypto infiltrates the military meeting, where he gets found out by General Armquist, and Armquist gets in a giant robot and fights Crypto. After a quick game of runaway and potshots, Crypto and an injured Armquist have a little conversation.
It didn't have to be this way, Armquist.
What do you mean?
I mean, this ridiculous war. We could have worked together, you and I, to forge a new future, a common future of peace and prosperity for our two peoples.
Just put me out of my misery, will you?
I'm serious.
You didn't want to destroy us?
Of course not. We were as scared of you as you were of us. Deep in our hearts, I think what we really wanted was to be just like you.
Really?
Really.
I guess, at the end of the day, we really are all just human beings.
Psych.
Next up on Crypto's hit list is the leader of the human race, President Huffman. And that was a quick job. Alright, next up is Silhouette. For the final showdown, Crypto meets with Silhouette, and after a little tussle, Crypto breaks Silhouette's mask, revealing that she was a woman. And then she calls President Huffman back from beyond the grave, but this time, he's RoboPrez, a 50-foot tall, giant robot. Crypto does battle in his saucer and defeats the Big O Robo. He flies on over to the Octagon, where he meets with Silhouette, and the two of them, and maybe like 20 other Majestic goons, have one last battle. To the death! Crypto then takes over the guise as the president, and then enacts ploys to receive more brain stems. The characters. Yeah. Cryptosporidium is played by J. Grant Albrecht. Hey, wait a minute, I know that name. Oh shit, it's the voice of the Storm from Metal Gear. Neat! The End is played by J. Grant Albrecht. He's been in a few shows and video games, but hasn't had any bigger roles, it seems. Other than Baldur from Bayonetta, and Death Metal from No More Heroes. And, Dr. Locust from My Life as a Teenage Robot. Is this gonna be an ongoing trend where actors who had parts in Nickelodeon cartoons come back and play memorable bosses? The answer is yes. Crypto's a very sadistic and angry little fellow, especially if you're racist towards him.
Little green men!
Not again. Colorblind morons. Die, pea brain.
He's played really well too. I think the seriousness that Crypto puts up compared to Pox's hilarious acting works very well. I think most of, if not all, the jokes land in this game, like honestly. The writing is superb. Speaking of Orthopox, he's played by Richard Horvitz. Now, if you don't know that name, you definitely heard his voice before. Horvitz plays some of my favorite characters in all of media. He's Billy from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. He plays Raz from Psychonauts, and probably my favorite performance of his is Invader Zim. Pox is really funny, like really out there. He's technically the mission officer, in quotations, for Crypto, and is the head of the Furons. He's a great all-around character, and I just love the performance, honestly. The performance makes the character. Armquist is played by John Segan. He plays some pretty memorable characters, too. Oh, don't believe me? Alright. Well, let's start off with Iron Man from Ultimate Alliance, alright? There. Yeah. Well, what? Not good enough for you? Okay, alright. Well, he plays Twitch from Toy Story 3. Okay, I hear you. That one's not that memorable. Alright. Pepe Costa of Mafia 2. How about this one? Motherfucking Solidus Snake is played by this madman. Armquist is a pretty good character, but he suffers from the not enough screen time ailment. I like the performance, but I just wish I had a little more of Armquist. I found that last conversation with Armquist to be really good. It really helped out his one-dimensionality a bit. Speaking of one-dimensionality, we come to Silhouette. She's played by Nika Futterman. She plays quite a bit of characters, like a lot of really good ones too. The ones that stick out to me are Asajj Ventress from Star Wars The Clone Wars, Styx the Badger from Sonic Boom, Pandora from Kid Icarus Uprising, and of all things, Chum Chum from Fanboy and Chum Chum. She plays a wide range of characters. I find that interesting. I don't know, is that just me? Oh, maybe I should tackle the whole one-dimensionality thing from earlier. I just needed a shitty transition. I don't actually find her character one-dimensional at all. I like that she tries to take control of the military by being cunning and conniving and betraying Armquist. And I like that she even mentions like how, since she's a woman in the 50s, she wouldn't have been able to make it to that level of power if she didn't wear a facade. So I even like her interactions with Crypto, honestly. I think everything just works really well with Silhouette. Speaking of things that work pretty well, the gameplay is pretty simple and really fun. Destroy All Humans is a third-person shooter open-world game with some stealth elements sprinkled in for good measure. I guess it's technically classified as an action game, but you know, whatever. Like I mentioned before, it all works really well. There are two styles of gameplay in this game. Those being the on-foot style of gameplay and the saucer gameplay. Each type of gameplay is very similar to each other. You know, you move, you shoot, and you have a small variety of weapons. The default weapons are the Zap-O-Matic for the on-foot and the Saucer's Death Ray. And they both work on a super quick cooldown meter. The Zap-O-Matic can even chain up to 4 enemies at a time, after a few upgrades, but we'll get there in a second. You got a second decent, longer distance weapon in the Disintegrator Ray.
Destructo Ray.
And the Sonic Boom. These work on having ammunition, which can be upgraded, of course, and they're probably the weapons I use the most. I think they're just very versatile, honestly. You also get 2 heavy weapons in the Ionizer Detonator and the Quantum Destructor. Much like the previous weapons, you also use ammo, but they do a lot more damage than the last 2 weapons. Among all the weapons you get in the game, my favorites have to be the Abduction Ray and the Anal Probe. The Anal Probe can be charged up and launched at any NPC, allowing you to watch them run away with their hands on their ass until their heads explode. And then you can collect that delicious brain Furon DNA. The DNA is a currency used to buy upgrades and occasionally used to progress throughout the game via DNA checkpoints. I know I ranted about something similar to this in the hurdy-gurdy rant review thing, but the difference is that the bells only unlocked concept art and bonus content, and the DNA is literally money. You use the DNA to purchase things that are useful, mind you, to progressing throughout the game, and not just getting a cool-ass 3D animation concept. Like, don't get me wrong, that was pretty neat, but I'd rather have the currency to purchase upgrades. Although both games make you stop to collect these items to progress, the way you go about collecting each item is very different. In Destroy All Humans, you're just collecting the DNA to save up to buy upgrades, and you can do this by collecting probes, by doing side missions, and even by blowing people's heads up. I went around using the Anal Probe throughout the game, so I just happened to have a ton of DNA by the time the checkpoints came up anyway. In Hurdy-Gurdy, the bells are usually placed in an area to show up a path that you can take to progress throughout the levels, or they're all like placed specifically in certain locations. It's not like the DNA where you can just get a limitless amount of it But other than the bonus content, there's no real reason to get them at all. So it's a bigger slap in the face when the game just like, hey, to beat this level, you gotta go back and collect all these fucking bells. At least in Destroy All Humans, when the pop-up comes up, you're already halfway there, just by dicking around and blowing up some heads half the time, you know, fuck it, right? Well, anyway, back to the weapons. The abduction ray is awesome, by the way. You just pick things up and then allow the Havoc engine to do its thing. I love that you can use tanks as wrecking balls and just fling them into next week and shit. It's fucking hilarious. It's just pure, unadulterated fun. The abduction ray is kind of like Crypto's concentration abilities. He can read minds, hypnotize people on animals, blow up people's faces, camouflage as a person, and best of all, he has force powers. Funny enough, the force powers are the stealthiest thing Crypto can do, especially when used in conjunction with the holobob, which is the camouflage, by the way. Just like no one suspects a thing when people just start fucking flying and trucks get launched into the air and shit. And it's just like, no one gives a shit. Is that the norm in 1959? If so, I want to go back then. It sounds like one hell of a time to live in, man. Just imagine like walking down the street and cars are being launched into fucking space and there's just a dude touching his temples and giving a constipated look on their face. You know, and it's like, how funny would that be? Yeah. Dangerous, but fucking funny. Speaking of constipated looks, this game isn't the prettiest game from 2005. It kind of looks like ass. Yeah, bad transition is bad, right? But I think the pre-rendered cutscenes look decent, but the models in game don't look so good. I think the saucer and mothership looks pretty good, along with the Furons themselves, and I like the designs of the main 4 characters. I think they all have good designs and they all look pretty unique, except for maybe Armquist. That's probably because he looks just like a normal general. But you know, the aviator glasses and the mustache kind of make him stand out a tad bit, but not too much. You know. The environments are pretty unique and vibrant looking, and of course they look decimated by the time you get through with it, so you know, there's that. I have my small issues with the audio design, but let me get the good out of the way real quick. I think the aesthetic for this game is right on the money. Everything from the score to the diegetic sounds are amazing. I love the music used in this game. The game's score was composed by Gary Scheinman. It's really good. I mean, I don't think I would personally sit down and listen to it on my own, but boy, does it get me in that alien flick mood, you know? Now for my small issues. For some reason, the audio every once in a while will cut out. Now, I can't tell if that's just my slightly scratched game. It's nothing too bad. It's just like minor things and, you know, like wear and tear. It's a used game. Also, some of the background music has a weird loop cycle. That or the music just restarts, and it's kind of weird. But mind you, it never broke my immersion. It's just one of those things that when you kind of pick up on it once, that's all you notice. But other than the dialogue cutting out during a few cutscenes and the music loop, I think Destroy All Humans has really good audio design. Speaking of things that I think this game does really well, I think this game has probably the best content I've seen so far. I know that that's a big claim so early on in this channel's lifetime, but this is going to be a hard game to beat in terms of content. For starters, each level has a certain amount of probes to collect. Once collecting every probe in each level, you unlock concept art. But that's not the content I was talking about. Once you beat the game, you unlock the granddaddy of video game aesthetic content. You see, this game comes with trailers and an E3 presentation for the game. And not one, but 2 full-length B-movies. Those movies are Teenagers from Outer Space and Plan 9 from Outer Space. They even have a few of the lead developers commenting on beta stage footage from early on in the development cycle. This game has such great content. Cheats. It's been a minute since I talked about cheats in a video game. Jesus, that was back in my old channel when I talked about Edda and Eddie, the Misadventures. Anyway, the cheat codes in this game, I would recommend in only a GTA kind of way. Like, I could totally see myself coming back to this game in a few weeks and just having a blast being invincible and having unlimited concentration and ammo and having the max wanted level on. You can even just generate more DNA if you want, but that's about all the cheats in this game. Glitches. Most of the glitches I've seen in this is just the Havoc engine being really wonky. Really though, my favorite one is the time when I died and my body decided it wanted to be raptured. Most of the glitches are just like this, so you know, it's nothing to really talk about. Conclusion. I love this game. Pandemic Studios made a really fun and enjoyable game, and I hope they had a blast making this game, almost as much as I did playing it. So, with that, I'm giving Destroy All Humans a near perfect 9 out of 10. I think honestly, all Black Forest Games and THQ Nordic have to do for this remake is just make the same game, but make it more beautiful, and then clean up some of the audio issues a bit. And that's it. And if they can get another Alien flick on this disc, fuck it, even better. I'm excited now for this remake, and I'll definitely play it when it comes out. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.